Welcome to the first ever Smile Club podcast brought to you by Active Aligners. There's been such a huge demand in dentistry and in the medical field for knowledge sharing information. So we thought we'll start a podcast that starts sharing from industry leaders, industry experts on dentistry, healthcare, and we'll continue to expand based on you as the viewer, what you enjoy watching, what you enjoy listening to. And our first guest was actually highly demanded, and he's none other than the Managing Director of Wrights. They are the largest dental distributor, vertically integrated dental distributor with over 40 sales reps in the industry. And what people never quite understand is how hard a distributor works and how much one man actually goes through in the dental industry to try and make life easier, better for everything in the dental and healthcare space. So welcome, Mr. Marc Perotti.
Thank you, Elton.
First question, what's been your toughest challenge? You've been in dentistry for 30 years, a very senior role for give or take 23 years. You've seen a lot of things come and go over that time. And if you had one very tough challenge, what has that always been in dentistry? I mean, as a senior leader, you go through
COVID's got to be one of the biggest challenges because there was nobody knew what was going to happen, how long it was going to last, and what the impact would be on the business. So the responsibility to ensure that you keep the livelihood of the people that work for you going, as well as the business, that was pretty demanding, I think. But at the end of it, it made us stronger, and it gave us a lot of insight as to how we could run the business better and potentially avoid these pitfalls in the future if anything else came along that was of a similar nature or had a severe impact on the business. So, yeah, at the time it was tough, but hindsight, it's taught us a hell of a lot, and it's helped us streamline our business, and it's helped us use technology to be more effective.
So I don't think people understand the size and the scale of your business. When you say something like COVID comes along and hurts you, you have international shipments coming in from multiple countries. You have some of the largest warehousing space. You have outsourced logistics to be able to deliver in time. I think give the viewers an understanding of the scale of Wrights in South Africa to be able to do what you do.
Well, yeah, the COVID comes along and people still want their payments, so cash flow becomes an issue. And manufacturers that you've been working with for years and years, you don't want to let them down. Obviously, you've got your responsibilities to the staff as well. You don't want to let them down. And then there's all these unknowns of what's dentistry going to look like post-COVID, and what is the time period that it's going to last for. So, there's investments that are made. Some are good, some are bad. And then you've got to live with those decisions after COVID. But fortunately, we've managed to leverage off our mother company based in the UK. There was a lot of joint decision making that was made in light of what their market was going through in the UK. So at the end of it, I think we came out of it unscathed, if you want to put it.
I don't think people understand how big the Wrights Group actually is and how much work goes into it, from a global logistics, how many staff you have to manage, constantly innovating, trying to bring products to market in a tough economy in South Africa, and making sure that dentists and the overall healthcare sector in dentistry gets the benefit of. I mean, your staff complement must be massive. Your warehousing is next level.
Okay. Yeah, so over the years we've evolved. We used to have multiple warehousing facilities. We've now centralized that warehousing facility in Cape Town.
How big is that warehouse?
That warehouse is over 3,000 square meters.
Huge.
Yeah. And to add to our challenges, we recently relocated our manufacturing plant in Hungary, which does acrylic teeth for dentures, to South Africa. Literally moved the entire factory across. But that created additional employment for about 65 people. And of the teeth that we manufacture in South Africa, we only use about 10% of that production, and the rest of it is sent to our parent company in the UK and then distributed across the world. The company without the factory has got about 150 people, and that is obviously split into the, sales departments, marketing departments, finance, laboratory, technical, high-tech sales. We basically cover all aspects of dentistry. I think there's 3 categories that we are not involved in, and that's lasers, microscopes, and loops. The day-to-day functions in terms of our logistics, we don't have our own drivers. We outsource our logistics, and we have various demands on our logistics as well. It's not just simply packaging a parcel and getting it off to the customer. For example, in our surgical division, it has to get there next day by 8:30. So that has to be sorted on the picking line. We have, obviously, the reach goes beyond South Africa. It goes into Botswana and Namibia. So we have to manage those logistics as well. And it has to be at a rate that is affordable, obviously, but more importantly, that is a service standard that is acceptable to the industry. Recently, we've just changed our logistics partner that we had for 8 years, mainly because we wanted more of a boutique approach to our customer service. And we believe that this decision will ensure that our customers enjoy a better service delivery. And with the high-tech programming that we've also installed, we will also eliminate we will streamline the amount of work that's needed to get a parcel to our customer, so that our people can focus more on the important tasks and let software and logistics look after themselves.
I think, you and I were speaking earlier, you said you have over 4,000 dentists on your books.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what it's like. At Smile Club Active Aligners, we've probably got about 500, 600 in the country. And, with some of the distribution that you help us with providing to the doctors that we partner with you, what is 4,000 doctors delivering to on time look like? I mean, I can only imagine the transactional volume, and some of those transactions are small, but they are important.
Exactly. And it's not just in the private market. It's obviously also to the teaching institutions and the oral health departments right across the country as well. But that essentially is roughly between 600 and 700 parcels a day that are processed through the warehouse. And we can track those parcels as well. Within our software called My Right Place, once that product leaves our facilities, you can track the progress of that parcel until it reaches the customer. So, yeah.
And, I mean, that scale is huge. There's not many businesses out there that are processing 600-700 deliveries a day across sub-Saharan Africa at scale and on time. But it brings me to something you said earlier. You spoke around creating employment, moving manufacturing into South Africa. That's something I've always been proudly South African, so to say. It's when we set up Smile Club, we had an opportunity to manufacture in a different country, take advantage of the tax, but we chose to start the Active Aligners Lab out of South Africa, create employment, create opportunity, pay our taxes. We're good for the economy. We see a lot of external companies coming in, and the money moves directly offshore. Mm-hmm. Every time they transact, it's basically sending money offshore. And then not just the money factor, you lose all the downstream upskill, and create our own problem in South Africa, but the more we send offshore and we don't have internal skill. You guys have moved manufacturing local. You look to have your own product sets in terms of the rights product sets, that it's local. and scale. And I don't think people understand the complexity sometimes of running 150 people in a business. It's like 150 kids. I'm sure some of the viewers here have a dental practice where there's a few people in. Now you must imagine what that looks like over 150 people trying to create employment, sustainability, paying taxes, 150 payroll. How do you find that in supporting the local South African environment?
So it's evolved over the years, and this is some of the knowledge that we try and share with our customers, because we're at the forefront of developing software to manage these processes. And it's I often speak to, if I look at it from my perspective, from a daily perspective, every morning I have a complete snapshot of the activities that have taken place within the business the day before. And that boils down to products sold per region, turnovers, margins, hit rates, cash flow, and that dashboard is crucial for me to run the business. Along with that dashboard are processes and reports that are analyzed on a weekly basis and given to our people to ensure that they can manage their progress and the way they're tracking to ensure that we stay on track. So this doesn't happen overnight. It's developed over a number of years, and then it's fine-tuned, and it's constantly evolving all the time. More recently, we introduced My Right Place version 3. And if you just look at the pre-COVID with the general South African market and online shopping, it was really non-existent. Post-COVID, it's grown dramatically. If you look at Checkers 60/60 and the space that they play in, and we're seeing that momentum changing now, although I must say that the change in the dental environment the uptake has been a little slow, but the dentists that have evolved and moved with the developments are seeing a dramatic improvement in their business, because their time is not taken up by, I call it noise, and they can focus more on the things that are important within their business, especially in these difficult times that we find ourselves in.
I see that. I look at the younger dentists coming through in the tech savvy and the use of digital platforms, digital ordering, whereas some of the older dentists that are struggling with it, and some of the older dentists have been massively embraced it. I know some dental practices that are wildly successful, just bringing new things in, but they've taken the time out their practices, or as a doctor, to do that. Where others are just so busy working, they struggle to find time. And then when they do look at it, it looks complex. It looks challenging, where it's almost needed in any business nowadays, not just dental or healthcare. I deal with, I know the head of a large optometrist, and they stock out, and they have very similar challenges. That people don't have time to upskill, or there's no place for them to learn to upskill in what's needed to be done.
Yeah, I think the one thing that we have learned is change is constant, and the other thing we've learned is people are resistant to change. But in this dynamic environment that we find ourselves in today, change is inevitable, and it has to happen. And because we understand our customers and our clients, and we understand these dynamics, the transition is basically done by us. We can really put everything into place on behalf of our clients. All they've got to do is just give themselves literally an hour or two to get to grips with what is happening. And from there, it's a smooth process. But it's to get that time and to get that buy-in that is the challenge for us. But once, I call it a light bulb moment, and once our clients have seen the benefits of moving in this direction, then the engagement is fantastic. It's absolutely phenomenal. So to stay competitive in this environment with all these DSOs or corporates that are opening up in South Africa, they understand these dynamics. They understand how to run a business. And for the smaller practices out there, they need to make the change to stay competitive and ensure that they retain their patients or their customer base against these bigger competitors that are going to continue evolving in the South African market. If you look at the international markets, corporates have been around for 10, 12 years already, 15 years.
I mean, there's some DSOs that scale into the thousands of practices.
Exactly. So, and then these DSOs will have the power to negotiate with the funders, and they'll be able to sit around a table and evolve dentistry to a point where we need this discussion in South Africa, and practices need to be aware of these dynamic changes that are taking place.
There are two things you said there that have stuck with me. I know small practices making an absolute killing in the market.
Yes.
They leverage either really close relationships with their client base that they spend a lot of time and money developing. They tech savvy, and they make really, really good revenue. The owners have beautiful homes, beautiful cars. They have no cash flow issues. And then I see practices of the same 3 or 4 people where they're struggling to do 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 in turnover. And they're really battling along. And it's to that, everybody has the same 24 hours a day, and you all have it 7 days a week. What do you do with it? How do you move forward? But a lot of the guys struggle to actually just move forward or take a step out of, be it fear. I don't know if it's something wrong in the way in which dentists or the healthcare and dentistry people come through that. But I do see pockets of people being ridiculously successful. And what they don't understand is, what a lot of people don't understand is you're competing for a customer share of wallet.
Mm-hmm.
You're competing against somebody buying a Louis Vuitton handbag. If you look at other aesthetic treatments, Botox, breast augmentation, liposuction, facelifts, and take into account a lot of people doing Botox are spending, they probably have 4 appointments a year, 20,000 Rand a year, valuing teeth. Some dentists have caught on to that and saying, hey, I am understanding I'm competing in the space against a customer share of wallet, and they create a great customer experience in the practice and the marketing all the way through. And I'm sure you see it across your books. Some dentists are doing unbelievably well and some are battling, yet both have 24 hours a day.
Yeah, I think Elton, this is quite we can unpack quite a lot here. I think
that's the goal.
Yeah,
you have 4,000 dentists on your books, and you'll see a common trait. And the goal is to share with the audience what can help make them successful. Not in against another dentist. Don't think competition to another dentist. Think into share of wallet where somebody's going to consume something.
So I think that's where we come into the picture in terms of providing software free of charge to help the dentist manage his second biggest expense in the practice, and that's dental consumables. Some practices it might be the third expense, but using the technologies that we are providing free of charge takes a lot of time wasting and a lot of unnecessary staff productivity away from the traditional approaches as we know it. And as long as the practice utilizes that new productive time that they've found now to canvas patients, existing patients, in terms of certain offerings. And what I mean by that is that if a practice must also determine where does their expertise lie. You can't be everything to everyone. So, for example, going back to your point on one-man practices being hugely successful, and it's interesting that these one-man practices don't do any endodontics. They don't do any implants. They don't venture into any of the specialist categories, but they just focus on restorative. But they do it so well, and they give themselves enough time that they're able to charge a premium, but they're able to deliver world-class results as well. At the same time, you don't need a lot in terms of office space to deliver that type of service. So it's also about managing the cost base, managing the appointment times, looking at your cost per hour, and ensuring that you're managing that, and most importantly, not working yourself from 8 to 7 in the evening and having potentially a day off every week. So first identify where your expertise lies. What services do you want to deliver? And then you've got to ramp your business up accordingly. But I do feel that a lot of our customers get lost in the traditional approaches to running the business, and they really need to evolve to compete with the dynamics that we're seeing now through these corporates that are entering the market. And they also need to understand that our job is we're very connected internationally. We have a huge network. We look at the space that we're playing in South Africa, and over the years, especially over the last 12 to 15 years, where I hear people saying, the exchange rate and the cost of materials is going up. In actual fact, if you investigate with us very carefully, we've introduced product ranges, quality product ranges at various segments in the market or at various treatment protocols that should actually be reducing your costs of materials. So it's challenging to get that across, but it's within our portfolio. And once again, those practices that you're referring to that have understood that have really benefited from our input and from our expertise regarding the product ranges. And I think the days are gone where one size fits all. I think the dynamics, the different treatment options, the different financial patients or the financial capabilities of patients. If you've got the options from a treatment protocol to vary the products without compromising the quality, then you can still be profitable, even though you might charge a lower price for a particular procedure. So we work hard at managing that process on behalf of the dentist, but it's the engagement that we need to have with the dentist and the buy-in from the dentist.
Give me an example of one of the products that have, or a few of the product sets that you've.
So traditionally you have your premium manufacturers that have led the way for many years, but these premium manufacturers are getting to a point now where they can't compete. As technology is involved, you've got manufacturers coming out of South America, Korea, Japan. Japan's always been there, but on the dental material side, I'm referring to now, that are starting to evolve at a rapid rate, and not just recently, over the last 10 years. And these products are competing with the premium manufacturers in terms of quality, but at half the price. Now, if I come along to, our job is to introduce these products to our customers so that they can benefit off this evolution. And we've been doing that for the last 10 years extremely successfully.
I think you raised something very valid there. People always relate the old world that we come from, price called quality, and people spent a lot of money on the brand. I'm in Dubai now, and I see, even in South Africa, the Chinese cars that are coming through with all the features, all the functionality. One or two of the brands have, was it a 1 million kilometer warranty behind it, but they're about half the price. And they're the caliber of the Japanese, the German manufacturers. I think some of the mindset shift around dentists and needs to go, it's not price that now determines the brand, because those companies were making massive margins and they were limited. But if you relate that to the car manufacturers that are starting to struggle against the Chinese cars that are coming through that seem to be on par, if not better in some areas, they mustn't put the sticker price to the value that they derive out of the product.
Absolutely. But the other thing that we take away, the other safety net that we provide for our customers is that we are compliant from a SAPRA perspective. We are, in the future, we will be ISO compliant, and that's a guarantee for our customers that no manufacturer can sell to us or we can't buy from a manufacturer, so it works both ways, if both don't have the same compliances. In other words, it eliminates the fact that a dental startup supply company, if they want to import a product from China and it's cheap, but if they don't have the regulations, not the regulations, if
the governance and certification,
the certifications and everything in place, then there's no guarantee for the customer or for the patient at the end of the day. We provide that safety net, we provide that comfort, and we ensure that the dentist and the patient are going to get the best at we guarantee that the dentist and the patient are going to get quality products that are properly certified and approved internationally, even though they might be half the price.
And I think the dental industry needs to realize how much work goes into you. I've seen how much flying you do, how much product vetting you have to do, how many times you're in an airplane overseas, how many people are pitching to you, how many things you say no to for every one or two things you say yes to before you're allowed into.
So again, someone has to take a stance and has to evolve in terms of where do we invest our money? And I think over the last couple of years, the real value is coming through workshops and hands-on courses, because our customers walk away with having learned something and actually having tried it and tested it within the workshop, and can actually go back to the practice on a Monday morning and implement what they've learned. Whereas congresses, which internationally, by the way, are not being well attended as they were in the past, because it's expensive. People haven't got the time to take 3-4 days out of their practice, and suppliers don't have the enough engagement with their customers. You've got maybe 2-3 minutes at a stand. What are you going to learn in 2-3 minutes, as opposed to a full day workshop on a Saturday or whenever it may be? So yeah, it's also about, as you said, where do we invest our money? Where's the dentist going to get his best bang for his buck? And these are the challenges and the decisions that we need to make. We're also managing a scenario where we're living in a world where everybody wants everything now. So, your investment into stock and managing that investment and managing those delivery times is a massive, massive challenge. But the more buy-in we have from our customers, the better database we have on purchasing habits, stock movements, etc., and the better we can buy to ensure that we've got stock on demand for our customers. So yeah, it's an integrated relationship at the end of the day.
And where does your mind go? You think, look, one you mentioned around congresses shrinking, I've seen that globally, and I know SADA here are, I don't say struggling to be relevant, but there's an area where they're growing forward, but dentists are finding products of Temu, they're finding education online, they're connected to a global economy, although some of the dentists here are struggling financially, but they have access to things that was never available before. But DSOs are starting to come in, and I think that's the next wave from a consolidating, allowing the dentist to do dentistry and the business side of it to actually run the administration and the marketing and all the base stuff that some people may need to submit to medical aid or not. Does that make you feel uncomfortable, knowing that some of the DSOs go direct to large importers themselves? They go to those actual distributors, or the manufacturers, the OEMs overseas. So they'll go to China, they'll order in bulk volume, knowing they've got 50, 100. I mean, I've worked with 1 or 2 DSOs that have 1,000. And they order direct.
Yeah, they could do that, but that in itself brings its own challenges. And the DSOs that we're speaking to now understand those challenges, and they'd rather partner up with an organization like ourselves who will take care of that aspect of the business. And as the business ramps up, they'll get the benefit of dealing with us, which would far outweigh them trying to import and run a distributorship within their business. And it then detracts from their real focus, obviously, which is managing their dental practices, growing their dental practices, negotiating with funders for better rates. So yeah, it doesn't scare me.
Doesn't worry you.
Doesn't scare me at all.
Marc Perotti said a few years ago, and I watch a lot of the stuff that he puts out there because he's also globally connected to DSD and he lectures internationally. He said in a few years' time, there won't be individual practice owners. People have to start coming together to put the specialities together because it's just too costly and it's too much for a dentist to do the one-man or two-man practice on scale. And you build a high set of skill in that practice across different specialists, endo, ortho, restorative, whatever it being. Do you see dentistry going that way for them to be able to survive?
Yeah.
They have to start coming together and work together.
I definitely see it moving in that direction. I think it will be a slow evolution, but there's no doubt that that's the way it's going to move. But it also, because these DSOs are coming in, they're not just going to buy any dental practice. They're going to buy a dental practice that is up to date with technology, that is running their business extremely well, that is managing the outcomes and expectations, because they also don't want to make the wrong investments themselves.
Nobody wants to lose money.
Exactly. So therefore, it's all good and well, these DSOs coming in, but I think I said it 2 or 3 years ago at one of the Wright Milner's congresses, that with these DSOs coming in, the individual or the smaller dental practice really need to jack up or really need to relook at how they manage their businesses to become more attractive to these DSOs, because these DSOs will look at will do due diligence, and then they'll make the choices they'll select the practices that will benefit them ultimately at the end of the day. The biggest advantage for the dental practices is that if a DSO does buy into their business, that they create what's the word I'm looking for? They create a succession plan for that practice. And one of the saddest things for me is to see that it's tough to sell a dental practice or to get a reasonable return at the end of your career. So that makes a lot of sense. And these DSOs are also recognizing that clinical knowledge is definitely, or clinical skills are definitely a concern in terms of graduating dentists, and they very focused on ensuring or upskilling clinical skills to ensure that their business, their DSO businesses have continuity moving forward. And I think that's where we play a big role, because we can provide the skills, or we can provide the products and the education to ensure this ongoing upskilling is done. And when the senior dentist retires and the next one takes over, that they've been adequately trained and mentored.
So there's always liability you don't want to end up with a lawsuit, and these things we see in other first world countries where they're very good to sue if things go wrong.
And also you've got let's say a highly skilled dentist, he's got a great book, he can't sell his practice, and then what happens? He just closes the doors, and what happens to the patients at the end of the day? It's such a sad loss. And that's the benefit I see for these practices that the DSOs will provide, and why the DSOs will partner with somebody like ourselves, because we can provide this ongoing knowledge, skill, and which is beneficial for the DSOs businesses as well, because those dentists are being properly trained, upskilled, mentored, and then as the senior dentist retires, they can then take over.
You talk around the DSOs. I've got we've got obviously active aligners in the UK. I've got a really close friend in the US that owns 6 practices. So the South African average dental practice here struggles to sell their practice, not even for 1 or 2 years earnings. In the UK, we've seen practices sell at 8-year multiples of profit. In the US, my mate sold, I think it was 5 or 6 practices for a 12-year multiple of profit.
Mm-hmm.
And the deal that he struck, they still said, if you grow any more practices, whatever that practice produces over the next 2 years, I will add to that stake and pay you 10 to 12 times. So the DSO brought him a lot of value in being able to sell, unlock. His tie-in period was 3 years.
Yeah.
Which he launched 2 more practices to take advantage of that. And he was highly successful in the dental space on his own. But some of the stuff the DSOs brought him were invaluable. It did bring a lot of challenges, right? Because they felt they were there to do dentistry, and a DSO comes and says, let's make business efficient. And what clicked for him was he said, oh, I should have always been efficient in my practice.
Mm-hmm.
I should have really always looked to put the best price forward, the best service forward, relating to the category that the patient was willing to spend into. So it was massively uncomfortable for him in the beginning, but then he realized, oh, things should have run like this from day one.
Exactly. And the other thing is that once that realization happens, because these DSOs manage the administrative side of the business, it does then give this individual dentist more time to focus on the clinical and the marketing side of the business as well. Yes, they might not have the skills, but they can learn them and help drive the business in the right direction, and then benefit off it at the end of the day.
And on to benefit, I suppose, I think a lot of people are having a very tough 2025. I think we're seeing the build-up of the COVID hangover coming through now. People took a lot of funding during COVID to stay afloat. I think the South African economy is in a bit of a bad patch. I think people, 2023 felt hard. 24 felt a little tougher. I can see it across the stress levels, not just in dentistry, across a few businesses I'm in. People are really feeling the pressure of 2025.
Yeah, I agree with you, Elton. I think I'm seeing it with some of the staff as well. And again, to manage these challenges, one's got to adapt to the changes, and one's got to implement new approaches to the business. One's got, there has to be some form of evolution. And unfortunately, as times get tougher, people that cannot adapt and make the changes to streamline their business and use technology to help them through the business, they're the ones that are feeling most of the pressure. Because
what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over, expecting a different result.
Exactly. And I think that's where the challenges, are coming in. And it doesn't just apply to our business; it applies to every single business. We've implemented some sales processes now to manage the changes, to help our staff and our customers deal with the pressures that they've got. And we're seeing some fantastic results coming through now from those practices that have taken this on board. And then we've also seen a complete change in personality of our staff that have implemented this and seen the benefits of it. So the economy is tough. It is tight, but there are ways to evolve and adapt to the changes around you.
I suppose it's rather be proactive,
exactly,
than reactive, because you're reacting to data that's already gone. It may hurt.
I remember, and you'll remember, where we said, well, what's your strategic plan for the next 5 years? There is no strategic plan for 5 years. I think your strategic plans these days are maybe a year and a half. You got long-term goals, yes, but your strategy and the dynamics are changing so fast that you need to be able to turn on a ticky and adapt to the changes in the market, because they happen.
This is the new norm.
It is the new norm. This is the new norm.
Understand that this is now normal.
Exactly. And I think it's also important to form partnerships. I can't do this all on my own. I form partnerships with manufacturers. You form partnerships with your senior management, and you leverage off the skills that they have to help achieve the overall objective. And I think, my hope would be that our customers see us as partners, and that they can leverage off us to help them evolve their business as well. And we have the tools at our disposal, or at their disposal, as long as they use them. So
we've spoken about dentists, the dental space in South Africa. What do you think about the lab environment? What do you think are going to happen to dental labs with where technology, 3D printing, all of that is going?
Yeah, so that technology is evolving fast, and I think the reality is that there will also be a shift within the laboratory space where I think your bigger digital labs will grow, and the single one-man lab is potentially threatened by this, but ultimately I see consolidated growth in bigger digital labs, catering for the evolution of the technology we're seeing now in dentistry. So yeah, that might be something that the DSOs might be interested in. I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely a trend that we're seeing overseas as well.
I've went across now. I've done quite a few tours, obviously, setting up the Alliance. I'm at a lab that does 19,000 crowns a month.
Yeah.
Well, 19,000 crowns a month.
Exactly.
And they've done the crowns, and if I'm not mistaken, it was anywhere between 50 and 60 pounds per crown.
Yeah.
And it was huge. I mean, it's the logistics around delivering single unit crown or even multiple crowns daily.
And the use of technology in the dental practice in a way that dentists can communicate with the labs now it's all digital, and it's accurate, it's faster, it's seamless, and that will also add value to both parties moving forward. So yeah, I think that space is going to grow.
And how many labs do you think are out there that have that ability to become that lab in South Africa before people, the world is small. Dentists have the ability to just order from overseas now. They could order, get it shipped. It's here in a few days. Sure. And then are there labs out there that actually have that ability?
Yeah.
All with the landscape that's coming. The investment also to be made in the equipment in those labs.
Exactly.
It's heavy.
Exactly. Look, I can't answer that. That's up to individual to make the decision of what space do they want to play in moving forward. But I still believe there is unique opportunities for labs to also focus on to master a certain sector of this digital evolution and stick with that. And don't forget, relationships are still key to everything at the end of the day. So relationships and service. It becomes difficult to service a patient if you've ordered the crown from overseas, as opposed to dealing with your local laboratory or local dental practice.
So in that space, I've seen, I've just come back from a lab in Dubai they specialize in veneers, and they're doing about 600 cases a month, 3 to 3, upper arch, lower arch, and they're shipping globally. But they sent the package turnkey. So it goes with the right prep guide. They've obviously skilled at the dentist, but it goes with all the bonding material, every single step that needs to be done. And they've actually offboarded a few dentists. They can't stick to the protocol of what's needed. And the dentists that can stick to it they're making a killing on the veneers that's globally taking off, because people are saying, you don't need to cut teeth aggressively for a veneer anymore.
Right.
So you can keep the shell of your teeth, but the anatomy you were born with, you can now slightly change. So I either think their global labs are going to start playing, especially as supply chain becomes easier and easier. You can order off Amazon, Temu, you get it seamlessly nowadays. So I think even South African labs are under threat from international players.
Potentially, but again, that I think I'm assuming that type of service is done digitally. You're not taking exactly
no, physically.
Which again is also something for the market to be aware of. You can't deal with these organizations if you don't have a digital impression scanner. So yeah, it's all about timing and opportunity at the end of the day. Elton, what keeps me awake at night? I think so. The thing that keeps me up at night, I would think, is sustainability within the dental market that we operate in. How can we ensure that we keep on contributing to the knowledge and skill of especially the youngsters coming out, and how do we ensure that the older practices continue with their legacies through DSOs or through succession planning, and combined with that to ensure that my staff have a career within Wrights, that they can grow and that they can sustain themselves within the industry as well. So what we do now is to ensure that sustainability on both sides of the equation, which obviously is beneficial to everybody at the end of the day.
It does keep me awake at night as well, as you can still be here in 5, 10, 15, 20 years' time. A lot of people take the stance of, I just need to get through the month or the day.
Exactly. And that's not the way we want to look at it. I mean, obviously there'll come a time when I have to retire, but then whoever takes over, they must take over a sustainable, viable business and continue to improve on whatever I've put in place now.
Before you go into what you're excited about in the future, I want to tell a quick story. So there's an outgoing CEO in his late 60s, and the incoming CEO says, I need some mentorship and guidance from you. And the guy says, look, I'm not going to give you any time when I leave, but I'll give you these 2 letters. And he says, when shit hits the fan, just open the first letter. And then shit hits the fan, open the second letter. Years go past, the new CEO does fantastically well. Shit hits the fan, company's crumbling, people are in pain, and he remembers these 2 letters. And he runs to the table and he opens the drawer and it says 1. And he opens the first letter and it says, blame me for everything. So the CEO goes out and says, look, the last CEO left some of this legacy, these are the issues we're dealing with, this is how we cleaned it up, but it wasn't my fault, it was actually all this person's fault. And everything settles down, and that current CEO carries on growing, and he does extremely well again for a few years. And then again, everything hits the fan. And he remembers, I've got a second letter. Runs to the drawer, he opens up this letter, and the letter says, sit down and write 2 letters.
Very good.
So sometimes you can make a mistake once, but
exactly.
as the stakes get bigger, there's less risk tolerance. It's almost inhumane in the modern day world, but it's something that always sits with me, of being sustainable and making things.
Yeah, I think, Elton, that's one of the things with our culture that that I was fortunate enough to inherit, and I'm currently driving that hard, is to empower the people around me to be able to take over responsibility seamlessly when the time comes, so that obviously there's no disruption, not only to the business but to our customers as well. And I think that's one of the strengths. We invest heavily in our people, and I think the average employment age of our senior staff is 16 years plus. Which I think
shows a bit track record.
Yeah, and it provides a solid foundation and confidence for our customers and for the business as well.
And the thing that you're excited about in dentistry, or for the future?
Dentistry is evolving at a rapid rate. I think the realization now, I see a lot of What's the word I'm looking for when people come together? A lot of
Convergence.
Convergence in terms of the reality of what the market needs. And some of our respected KOLs are also seeing that the future of empowering the dentist from a clinical perspective is through workshops and hands-on courses. And, once this starts happening and we share the common goals, then everybody's going to benefit at the end of the day. Technology as well is super exciting for me in terms of what it can do for dentistry. As long as it's understood and used correctly, it's hugely beneficial. But also this evolution of dental materials that are coming out, high quality,
Amazing. Wow.
high quality products, very good prices, and especially in this country, as costs get out of, I guess costs are increasing year on year, and the remuneration for certain treatment protocols isn't increasing at the same rate as local inflation. I get excited because we can now bring quality products at a much lower price and help beat inflation and help beat the lower
Something that
tariffs that are being paid.
I look at the Smart Club team and, your crowns in that space. The Smart Club team have a crown. It's either 900 Rand or 1,000 Rand. It's a printed 3D crown, where the cost of collecting it, if the dentist take an impression, then the cost to deliver it back is more than an actual cost of just the pure raw material to print that crown. They'll get the printers from you in the 3D printer we send all over. But that allows people that would never have the affordability to have a crown at 1,000 Rand to a dentist. It's unheard of.
I think,
And that's exciting to me, of lowering the cost of care.
absolutely. I think 3D printing is going to revolutionize how we do our crowns and our prostheses moving forward. The products haven't quite been refined yet in terms of what can be molded today, but I think if I had to look into the future and take a guess, in 10 years' time, I think 3D printing is going to seriously challenge the milling process that we currently enjoy today. But it's obviously dependent on refining the materials that are used.
Stay on the cusp of that. One of the things we never want to build within Smart Club is anything legacy. So even if there's money to be made in legacy, we kind of don't go there because we know the hockey puck's going to be here. Don't focus on where things are. The materials, to a large extent across the board, are already there.
Mm-hmm.
I see what the Sprint Rays, the Seekers, the Frozens, your Emax is 7 to 10 years. That's what they say it should. Your printed materials are already there. I look at the aligner material we use. They've come leaps and bounds in such a short space of time, and they say that's going to speed up.
Yes, agreed. That's going to evolve and it's going to speed up, but they've also got to stand the test of time as well, which the other traditional products have stood. So I do believe it's coming and it's going to come fast, but there's still a little bit of work to be done before it actually starts making a massive impact on the market. But time will tell. Time will tell.
Yeah, it's something I follow quite granularly. My mates in the US, they don't mold anything everything in their space is 3D printed, and the only time they mold is when they do them all on X. Brian known as a big rehab clinic, but he says they're able to provide dentistry to people that couldn't afford it before, and that makes him happy, believe it or not.
I'm with you, and if we look at the greater population within the South African context, if that technology is at a point where it can be leveraged across the South African population, I think it's going to be wonderful, absolutely wonderful.
You tell me about Marc Perotti himself. Who is Marc? What does he enjoy? When you do get time, right? You're a very busy man. Most weekends you put even to work or family.
Well, not so much anymore. I do have my weekends more now than I've ever had before, and I have a love-hate relationship with golf. which I'm sure every other amateur golfer has as well. But that is definitely one of my passions. Probably a passion because it's something you can never master, and you just keep on chasing the end goal all the time. It keeps me motivated. It keeps me thinking all the time. So that takes up a lot of time.
And you find you very, very family oriented.
Yeah. So in the last 2 or 3 years, the other part of taking up my time now is having 3 grandchildren, and potentially another one on the way. So that's going to be my new focus moving forward. And then I spend a lot of time on. My wife and I are quite house proud, so we were always doing little projects around the house and making additions here and there. So yeah, that's probably the bulk of my time.
Golf, family, and improving
and home improvements. Yeah, home improvements.
And how do you de-stress that? When you're in a business the size of yours, it must be heavy. Who do you talk to? How do you de-stress? Is it family you go to? Do you have a few mentors?
Yeah,
Are you let off some of that pressure?
So I do have a really good mentor in the UK. We share a lot of our challenges and stresses and talk through them and try and rationalize them at the end of the day. But I'm also fortunate we have a really good local board as well, where obviously there's heated discussions that take place on a regular basis, but we're able to draw a line in the sand and move forward, and the culture's of such a nature that it's not personal. It's all about the business, it's all about the people, it's all about the customers.
And it's so important. Some of the people take things personally where they probably shouldn't. Everybody's trying to be forward.
Exactly.
It's not that.
Exactly. And the other thing that I think keeps me sane is that, might be to my own detriment or not, but you've got to speak the truth and you've got to speak directly and honestly all the time. And sometimes people don't want to hear the honesty and the truth. But I think that in the long term, that gains a lot of credibility.
I agree with you. Being honest and keeping that integrity is extremely important to me. It's always been all my life.
Exactly. So the other kind of de-stress that I have is on a very, very light level is playing paddle with my wife. So that's more of a social de-stress, fun type of thing to do.
And if somebody wanted to spend time with you, learn, grow, gain some knowledge, I know the door's always open. You've always been welcome.
I think I do that every single day in every single meeting with different staff members, because that's what I can give back now. Is I can give back experience and the knowledge that I've gained over the years, and to see people grow and to see people evolve is so rewarding for me now at this stage, and that's really that's kind of an aha moment, if you want to put it. It's like, oh, this is unbelievable. This is what it's about. It's seeing other people succeed and being able to show them where you went wrong and where they can avoid the pain and the pitfalls and the hardships and everything like that. Yeah.
And what does your schedule look like till the end of the year? How much are you traveling? How much?
So international travel, there's not a lot, but there is quite a bit of local travel. Up in Namibia for the Namibian Dentalist Congress, the annual dental congress. But yeah, more local travel than anything else. Main one's part of it.
We have about 7 minutes. Anything else you want to cover?
One of the most rewarding processes that we've implemented recently is using My Right Place to create customer-specific profiles, which is having a very positive impact on how the dentist manages his his or her material purchases, but more importantly, how they also can use that data and knowledge, or how they can use that data to analyze the operations within their business. And it's just amazing for me to see how dentists are interacting with me and sharing how they're utilizing this technology and how it's improved their operations within the business, how they've taken the stresses away that were when you do it every single day. The repetitive that's the way I've done it, and that's the way I've always done it. And now, why didn't I do this 3, 4, 5 years ago? And it's amazing to see how that's evolved as well, and how it's benefited the businesses.
I sat through some of those MyRight sessions, and you can break it down per surgery, per par levels and consumables, what's used, what's not used, what's wasted, what's still sitting there if you use the platform in its entirety that you're not going to order again, or what's going to...
Correct.
It's actually a very powerful... The UK team is doing extremely well at their low costs, reduced admin time.
Exactly, and that's the key. To create better efficiencies within the dental practice, and to spend more time on the things that are more important in a dental practice, like getting bums in the seats, and also utilizing their existing databases to canvas, or using their existing patient database to look at more treatment options and protocols that they can introduce to their patients to get more bums in the seats. We're also excited about the aligner business as well, and how that has evolved, and the successes that we're seeing out there. And it's amazing how that business has evolved now, and how many competitors have entered the market as well. Where will that go in the future with AI and software? I can't tell you, but it's definitely, in my opinion, here to stay. And I think it can only get better as the database increases,
as awareness
increases. Exactly.
They talk CAGR, the compound annual growth rate, and globally it's going to more than triple in the next 7 years in how many people go through align orthodontics. I think in South Africa that it's going to be even bigger. Being in the aligner game, everybody we speak to, it's still 6 years later, 1 out of 10 people know what a clear aligner is.
Right.
The rest of aligner is. So I understand that 9 out of 10 people don't. And based on the fact that 60 to 70% of people want to improve their smile, that shows me how big this market is going to be in aligners. And where orthodontists push back against it, I see them embracing the technology more and more. I see them finding new use cases for it, even in teams, just a little bit of expansion, and in adults being able to fix you.
I think I've seen this over the years. When we first brought the first digital sensor to the market, and everybody said, "Oh, it's a gimmick; it will never work." You can't work without a digital intraoral sensor now. When endodontics went through its explosion, implants went through its explosion. People will say, well, the general dentist can't place implants. Well, they do place implants now. And we're seeing the same thing with aligners now as well. So, you can't stop this evolution. It's just a natural progression.
One of his scanners get cheaper. What allowing them to enter the digital space at such an affordable price point, which impacts not just from a aligner therapy point of view, but impressions, accuracy. There's no more drag. Your lab doesn't have to go through casting. Everything just in that cost removal by digitizing is.
Again, some of the guys that we've sold to on the digital impression scanner haven't done so much from a cost perspective, more from a competitive perspective, because the dentist down the road has got the technology and the patients are talking about it, and then the dentist feels, well, I've got to keep up base with clients' expectations. So yeah, that also plays a role.